This is In the Loop. I'm Christian Bryant. If you've come here to get caught up on the news without spin, you've come to the right place. If you're here to learn about how one company is recycling beer and making liquor, you've also come to the right place. Here's what we got for y'all. As we approach the 1-year anniversary of Breonna Taylor's death, we dig into the law named after her and what it's been able to accomplish. Then we're taking a closer look at Russian airstrikes and their connection to bombings at Syrian hospitals. But first, here's what you need to know right now. The House passed the $1.9 trillion relief bill after the Senate's revisions. Now it's headed to the president's desk.
It will do more to help the middle class, poor people, and people struggling to get into the middle class than any bill in a very long time.
If you make less than $75,000 a year and you're expecting to get a stimulus check, they should start going out in the next couple of weeks. The IRS will draw info on income from your latest tax return. The relief bill also extended the $300 a week federal unemployment benefit until September. But there's something else in this deal that has the potential to be a game changer. The child tax credit is essentially a guaranteed income for families with kids, refunding at least $3,000 in taxes per child. The relief bill only establishes the program for a year, but Democrats hope to make it permanent. The relief package also includes money for rental assistance, schools, vaccine distribution, and COVID testing and tracking. On the other hand, Republicans aren't happy with how broad and costly the bill turned out.
This is a classic example of big government Democratic overreach in the name of COVID relief.
When you start doing things like completely putting aside all public health measures as if you're turning a light switch off, that's quite risky. We don't want to see another surge, and that's inviting one when you do that.
There was a stark warning from Dr. Fauci on the same day the statewide mask mandate and capacity limits ended in Texas. Businesses there can choose to keep their own mask rules in place, but there's no enforcement from the state. Texas joins Missouri, Iowa, and Florida, who are already fully reopened. 41 other states are easing restrictions in some shape or form. Public health experts warn it could lead to a fourth wave of new cases, especially with spring break approaching, a recent uptick in travel, and variants already circulating. The latest data from the CDC shows 9.7% of the US population has been fully vaccinated. T-Mobile caused some serious buzz with its latest low-key announcement. In a recent privacy policy update, the cell phone carrier told its customers that unless they opt out, it plans to automatically start sharing their web and app data with advertisers on April 26th. Do we really need more catered ads on our phones? T-Mobile said it masks users' identities to prevent advertisers and other companies from knowing specific details like what you're browsing and what apps you have installed, but privacy groups say it can still be traced back to individuals. For what it's worth, Verizon pools subscriber data before sharing it with advertisers. Meanwhile, AT&T automatically enrolls its wireless customers in a basic ad program that groups them based on inferred interests. Both of them had a more detailed sharing program for customers who choose to enroll. Recently, we've seen big tech move away from these sorts of moves as regulators crack down on user data. The surprise element of no-knock warrants can have deadly consequences. We saw that firsthand with Breonna Taylor's case. Nearly a year after she was shot and killed in her Louisville apartment, activists continue to push for a ban on those types of warrants. Maya Rosenfeld digs into Breonna's law and where certain states stand on it.
March 13th, 2020, Louisville Metro police officers shot and killed Breonna Taylor in her home while executing a no-knock warrant.
We was in the bed. We didn't know who it was. The gun's legal, like, everything. We don't even know who it was.
I don't know who it is.
She asked 10 times who's at the door.
Activists are pushing for Breonna's Law, a bill that bans the use of no-knock warrants, which allow officers to enter a home unannounced.
When we know that the subject of a search warrant has the propensity to be violent against others or especially against the police, any tactic that we can use that would mitigate the chance for that to happen is important, and that's one of the reasons that no-knock warrants are. important.
But the surprise element of no-knock warrants can also be deadly, and Breonna Taylor's case has launched a national movement to ban them.
We are here to represent the people.
While police departments in cities across the country, including Louisville, have banned no-knock warrants, and some states have passed their own version of Breonna's law, in Kentucky, the law doesn't have a chance to pass.
It's been 7 months since we filed the bill, and we were just getting a hearing. It never stood a chance at this point of passing the House. And so we were left with really no choice but to support Senate Bill 4.
Instead, the state Senate recently approved a bill to restrict, but not ban, the use of no-knock warrants.
Search warrants are necessary. They're a necessary tool, but they can be done sloppily. I've seen them done sloppily. And when they're done sloppily, that's unacceptable because you're dealing with someone's constitutional rights. And so this bill tries to address that.
The Senate bill limits the hours of the day a no-knock warrant can be served and requires officers to wear body cameras and to seek higher levels of approval.
I think it's a good first step. It would prevent tragic deaths like Breonna Taylor from occurring in the future.
The Senate bill is now heading to the House for a vote, and supporters of Breonna's law hope to add other police reform measures like mandatory drug and alcohol testing for officers who fired their gun or killed someone.
Kentucky, as a Commonwealth, has yet to truly honor Breonna Taylor and her memory and to make sure that no other family has to mourn the death of their loved one at the hands of police. There's still work to do.
It's not enough just to think we can get rid of no-knock warrants or make it more difficult for law enforcement agencies to get courts to approve them. We need to go a few steps farther and look at some of the core components of the police subculture in many places across the country that tolerates lying and falsifications by officers.
Nevada and New York are also considering restricting the use of no-knock warrants, and at the federal level, the House of Representatives recently passed the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. In part, the bill bans the use of no-knock warrants in drug cases. Maya Rosenfeld, Newsy.
Russia has often denied its role in the Syrian civil war, but the country recently released a video that shows more evidence of their bombing campaign on Syrian medical facilities. The Russian Defense Ministry recently released a video showing off one of its weapon systems. The video was, in a way, to tout the weapon's accuracy, but it also gives proof of their involvement in a long-standing bombing campaign on Syrian hospitals during the country's ongoing civil war. Here to talk to us about the video and its significance is our colleague, Jake Godin. Can you explain what we're seeing in this video?
Yeah, so Russia released this video. It went through a Russian news agency. It's a military video showing the use of one of their surface-to-surface missiles, showing it hit different locations throughout Syria. In one of the shots, you can see a building be hit by a couple of missiles. You see the missile fly in, you see an explosion. Turns out that building is a hospital. It was the Azaz National Hospital. It's a big building and it's kind of unique looking, so it's pretty easy to see on Google Earth or satellite imagery.
When was this video taken?
We think it was probably around 2016, so it's a few years ago. Russia released this video because the leader of Armenia had complained about a Russian missile system that they had used during their brief conflict with Azerbaijan. And in response to that complaint, Russia released this video kind of proving, oh no, this missile system is accurate. Look, we used it many times in Syria. And one of the times they show off is them hitting a hospital, the Azaz National Hospital.
Why is this video significant?
Russia will always deny that it struck a hospital. Aside from some really good work done by the New York Times, which used radio chatter from pilots and used that to verify that, yes, Russia was specifically targeting hospitals, this is just another piece of evidence that shows that they actually did hit hospitals. They just don't care anymore.
Has anybody, any global power, had anything to say about this video?
If it's anything like what happened with the Times investigations or past accusations that Russia specifically targeted medical infrastructure in Syria, not much will happen. A lot of times where a hospital's been hit. Visuals from it have gone viral. A lot of people would kind of wag their fingers at Russia in the United Nations Security Council meetings, but nothing would really come out of it because Russia would just deny that they specifically targeted a hospital, or they'll say it was full of terrorists. It was, it was full of weapons. There's this group called the Syrian Archive that has been collecting thousands and thousands of videos that have come out showing all sorts of incidents in Syria. So it's an important and somber note to have this collection of videos that show medical infrastructure in a country like Syria being attacked over and over and over again with nothing really coming out of it, aside from medical workers dying and big groups like Medicine Sans Frontiers or physicians across continents having to pack up and move to safer locations.
President Biden's administration is trying to figure out how best to address a record number of unaccompanied minors arriving at the U.S. southern border. The number has tripled just in the last 2 weeks. This issue isn't just about what happens when they get to the U.S. border, but also what's prompting children to make that journey in the first place. Newsy's Ben Shamiso spoke to one man who made the trek from Central America as a teenager.
It took me 1 month to travel from Honduras to the US. Most of the time I spent it in Mexico on top of a cargo train, begging people for food.
When he was only 15, Elvis Garcia Callejas traveled 2,000 miles to the US to flee poverty and gang violence in Honduras. He knew the trip north would be extremely dangerous, but says staying home was not an option.
My father was an alcoholic and he was never present in my life. My mom, she would make about $5 a day, and with that money she had to support 5 boys.
Garcia Callejas' American dream is shared by many Central Americans.
Since I was a kid, I always heard of the stories of the United States being a safer country.
And the trend has only accelerated in recent months. Migrants from Mexico and Central America, including unaccompanied minors, are crossing the U.S. border in record numbers.
They had 2 hurricanes back to back. They've suffered immensely economically because of COVID, and that was on top of situations that were already rather desperate.
Many Republicans say President Biden's border policies are weak and igniting a crisis at the border. The Biden administration reversed Trump policies, such as border expulsions of unaccompanied minors and the Remain in Mexico program, which required migrants to wait outside the country for their asylum hearings. The reversals help explain the increase in crossings, but experts say that's only part of the story.
It's sort of expected if you're from certain areas and you reach a certain age, then you're supposed to go north and provide for your family. And that's a cultural issue.
The Biden administration wants to invest in Central America to tackle root causes of migration, poverty, violence, and corruption. But that's a long-term investment that may not pay off for years. In the meantime, the White House can expand capacities at the border and create other legal avenues and asylum destinations for migrants. As for Garcia Callejas, he won his case and is now a U.S. citizen.
I love the United States. I'm proud to be an American citizen.
At 31, he has also achieved his dream of lifting his Honduran family out of poverty, preventing them from risking their own lives migrating to the U.S. Ben Shamiso, Newsy.
As this pandemic has taught us in more ways than one, too much beer can be a bad thing. The shutdowns have caused a serious excess of beer, which is kind of a nightmare for craft beer lovers everywhere. Bars and breweries have limited options when it comes to getting rid of it, and the easiest way is to just throw it out. That can cause sewer and wastewater issues. Less easy way, deliver it to my address and I'll take care of it. National reporter Amanda Brandeis introduces us to one company that's like a recycling plant, but for alcohol. They take the excess beer and turn it into another tasty adult beverage.
Millions of gallons. Nationwide, I would guess that it's tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of bad beer had to get dealt with.
A nightmare for craft beer lovers and the people who make it.
When beer goes bad, it's not like milk where it's bad for you. It just gets stale. Beers like hoppy beers, which have come to be really popular, Most of the time, retailers and bars and restaurants won't purchase it if it's over 90 days old.
Dennis O'Connor says it's not a new problem, a source of many headaches for brewers everywhere.
You were kind of limited to what you can do with it. A lot of times you would give it away to staff or give it away to some event. Some places are known to and have and been fined for it, just dumped it down the drain.
Serving beer to the pipes can have serious consequences, harming wastewater systems or making its way into rivers and oceans. Disposing it properly comes with a fee.
Craft beer isn't ideal for distillation, but we felt there was a concept there.
On a mission to waste less, San Diego's Rebrew Spirits was born. After years of research and development, they figured out how to make high-quality spirits from expiring craft beer.
And literally 2 weeks after we plugged in the still, the pandemic hit. So instead of us getting what we thought would be about 1 to 2 trucks a month, it turned out to be about 4 to 6 trucks a week.
Is this really going to work? They knew that they could do it small scale, but can we do it at such a large scale? And they can. They really can.
With years of preparation and some luck, they took beer off the hands of breweries and distributors by the truckload.
Just watching everyone just, come in at midnight to kind of process and really put the program to test.
We've distilled approximately 200,000 gallons of craft beer, which is almost 2 million pints.
Turning it into vodka, gin, and peppermint whiskey.
So we're actually getting really, really high quality products. Even though the name out of code doesn't sound so great, it actually is a fantastic product.
One already making a name for itself. In their first international competition, Rebrew's vodka took gold and the gin silver.
We're kind of providing a service to the breweries and distributors by taking it off their hands so they don't have to pay for getting rid of it, and on the same token, upcycling it and turning it into another product.
They hope to replicate the operation in other craft beer loving cities like Nashville, Denver, and Tampa, a model they say can be sustained long after the pandemic.
The business model was luck.
In San Diego,
definitely tastes better than hand sanitizer.
I'm Amanda Brandeis reporting.
If you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? Hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag NewsyInTheLoop. Make sure to put the Newsy in there, or else your message will end up in a black hole full of people talking about the 2009 British comedy In the Loop, starring Peter Capaldi. Now I know what I'm watching this weekend. So this morning, I pre-registered to get a COVID vaccine in DC, and I noticed something on the bottom of the screen once registration was complete. A single sentence, DC needs more vaccines. One of the biggest challenges city and state leaders are facing across the country is not having enough vaccines to go around. For many people, the challenge is just getting an appointment. National reporter Chris Stewart looks into how one group that's used to helping people get answers is now vaccine hunting.
That we have.
Okay.
Doesn't look weird. This is a neat one.
Like many couples in this pandemic.
We went to
only
26.
3 presidents?
No. We had 2 Bushes, so to speak.
Oh, 2 Bushes. You left 1 Bush out.
Well, I'm not a landscape guy. So
Mark and Jesse Stern have spent a lot of time together.
I get tired sometimes at the end of the day, and he can say, although I don't like it when he says it.
What?
It's 5 o'clock. I'm getting the 5 o'clock.
So that's because I'm less patient than I should.
Well,
60 years of marriage can prepare you for quarantine life. In her career, she reported on medicine. He worked at the National Institutes of Health.
For instance, when Ron Howard, and we had seen him as a kid in Music Man.
Oh, you forgot Colin Powell here.
I know, he came by to see what we were doing.
Now retired, for decades, their jobs brought them close to what most of us can only read about.
A photograph picture?
Yes. But when it came to getting the coronavirus vaccine, they felt very far away.
And you have to be proactive. This is the most proactive guy you'll ever meet.
No.
The Sterns are like many who've struggled to get a vaccine appointment on their own.
There was a 3-hour line.
But the people in this room,
We're teachers,
know how to solve a problem.
A lot opened up today, this morning, and within an hour, everything was gone.
Dina, Courtney, and Maisie
We just take care of people all day long.
are public high school teachers outside DC.
If we can give our time and give somebody that back, like that's pretty amazing.
They're part of a group of vaccine hunters who volunteer hours every day helping people find vaccine appointments in the DC area.
They're a little bit further, yeah.
All for free.
A lot of it is in between classes. We're like checking sites.
I'm so tired.
These teachers field countless calls.
I get up at midnight, then I get up at 3.
Texts and messages in hopes they can give people an edge by finding appointments.
A lot of people might not even have access to a computer or internet.
Which is hard when appointments open and close so quickly.
We good? We good? Oh, good. We're
Okay. We're back.
Just ask the Sterns. They had to act fast when the vaccine hunters called.
We had an hour and a half.
If you search vaccine hunters on Facebook, you'll find many groups across the country.
The need is never ending.
Because for every Mark and Jesse Stern.
No, that's the kids. This is I think our favorite picture of them.
There are other grandparents, parents, loved ones in need of help finding their way through this pandemic.
We didn't ask for this plague, but now that we've got it, you got to fight it with everything you've got.
In Montgomery County, Maryland, I'm Chris Stewart reporting.
That's it for us, gang. As always, thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more in the loop. Same time, same place. Top stories from Newsy are headed your way right now.